welcome back to another episode of Prop Talk, the official podcast of the Property Masters Guild. I'm your host, Mikey Trudel, and filling in for Chris Call today, we have PMG member, Property Master Scott Buckwald here. How's it going, Scott?
It is going really well. Thank you so much for having me over. This is a blast. I love doing this.
Yeah, thanks for filling in as co-host and doing that. Today on the show, we have a special guest that we have patched in from Chicago, and that is PMG Property Master Laura Roeper. How's it going, Laura?
It's going good.
Did I say your name right? I usually ask that before we start.
It's Roeper.
Okay.
Very easy, kind of like, Roeper.
Yeah. Good. I was like, I usually ask that before we go, but then during the theme song, I'm like, oh no. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So I guess just to first start off, I wanted to ask you, out in Chicago, I haven't heard from too many people in Chicago. Were you guys, I'm assuming, were hit just as hard by all the strikes and everything that was going on, right?
Yeah, it's, we are anchored here by the Dick Wolf shows, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med,
right.
Chicago PD. That's some of our big anchors, and we're at CineSpace Studios. It's a pretty big studio here, but yeah, we were hit super hard. We were all out of work for 10 months. So first it was COVID. We were out for almost a year. We went back to work, and then it was a strike for 10 months. So yeah, it was a very difficult time.
How big a film community is there in Chicago?
I think it's a lot bigger than people think. One of I think one of the things people don't understand about Chicago is that there's a ton of advertising work here. So since there's the big agencies are here, FCB, Leo Burnett, all the IPG, WPP, a lot of them are here in Chicago. So we do a lot of commercials here. And they are mostly union commercials, of course. That's the only ones we work. So I think that's the one thing that people don't get about Chicago is we have a huge commercial crew. So as far as TV, I'm going to say on a good year, they're going to run between 10 and 20 shows and maybe 3 or 4 features. But we also... I'm going to say this, and this can be said anywhere. The problem with Chicago is that everybody wants to film in Chicago, and then they go to Toronto or other places, and then they come here and they do their plate shots. Right. So that gets really discouraging because it's a beautiful city and it's a great place to set a story, but it's there's a lot of misconceptions too. All of this, I'm very safe to say. I just worked one day on a movie, and everyone on the movie was from LA. They were really nice. It was just a quick one day. But one of the producers was talking to me, and he's like, yeah, like we didn't know if we were going to get film people in Chicago. We know it's a lot of TV people. And I was like, wait a minute. It's the same union, and we can do movies just as well as we can do TV.
Yeah.
So, and then... So that's about it in Chicago, though. We're not going to run. It's not Atlanta. We're not going to have 40 shows. I don't know how Atlanta's doing right now. That is no. But I think the thing about Chicago crews is we're very similar. I think in the way we work. Everybody's told me we work closer to a New York set, a New York crew. And the weird thing is, as prop masters, you guys know this. Prop masters work different in LA than Chicago, than Atlanta, than
Right.
New York. So that gets really weird when you're working with out-of-town directors or producers, and they're like, hey, did you get me that car? And I'm like, yeah, no, this is not New York. Prop masters don't do cars. And then I'm always like, have you ever heard of a little organization called the Teamsters and Picture Cars? You're in Chicago.
Yeah.
they're like, oh, who do I call, Roeper? And I'm like, here you go.
So then that being said, so with the system in Chicago, then you guys don't do picture cars either. I'm assuming that you don't set up tents at Village with AC units or anything like that.
No, we have people that's a separate job. That's a separate job in our union. Setting up tents is production or location.
Yeah,
but
same.
doing AC or anything like that, that's a 476 job.
So
and
it sounds like you follow the LA system more than New York.
Yes, very close to the LA system.
Oh, fun. So with what you were saying earlier with the Chicago, there being like a more heavy commercial workforce, do a lot of you prop masters, like obviously you've done a lot of TV shows from like Empire to The Bear and stuff like that. Does the types of jobs that you do spread out across that? Do you prop master a lot of commercials and stuff?
Nope. I personally don't. I think, okay, so here's the other thing that's really different, and it's probably like that in LA too. Our commercial crews run different than our TV crews.
Yeah,
That's the same here.
right.
And I have worked commercials. I prefer not in a bad way. They pay really well, but because I worked in advertising for 13 years before I went to TV, the last thing I want to do is step on a commercial set. That being said, I do them. I've prop mastered one commercial the last 2 years.
It's I know, like for us, I mean, for me anyway, I'm just not known in the commercial world.
Nope.
All my contacts are, it's
people.
a whole different, almost a whole
Yep.
different industry.
It is, and it's different buildings here. So that also makes it kind of weird. Like commercials usually don't film at the big television film studio. They film at smaller studios. We have a lot of smaller studios in Chicago where they might have like 3 different sets going at once. But again, it's that advertising world. It runs different. I like commercials. I don't like them anywhere near as much as I like TV and film. That being said, anyone can call me anytime. I've been off since June.
I just realized I lied. Me and Scott were talking about him. He's like, have you ever worked a job in Chicago? And I was like, no. And he's like, me neither. I just remember back a decade ago, I did work a job in Chicago on a commercial, actually, in the dead of winter. And I think it was a full LA crew that came out too. And it snowed so bad that day, and we were so unprepared. My pass van, or not the pass van, the cargo van that we had was snowed into the spot on the side of the road, and it took us an hour and a half and like half the crews just to like get it out and moving.
Yeah.
And then by the time we got to set, we were still one of the first people there, 2 hours late, and nobody even made it till halfway through the day. It was like,
I just did a show.
Yeah, we're used to it. You know, the thing that's the crazy thing is our winters the last 3 to 4 years have been much milder. So I think people always think, oh, Midwest, it's 20 inches of snow. That hasn't happened the last couple of years. I think we all know about climate change. So that's been crazy. That being said, we could get 2 feet of snow in, February of next year. But I think that's one thing about Chicago crews too. I've even had my LA producers and directors say that it's a pretty tough crowd because we deal with that shit all the time. And like right now, if you're working on set in Chicago, it's about 93 and humid. So we got the extremes. It doesn't mean I like it. I hate working outside when it's cold. I can't stand it.
That's what brought me to LA. I started my career in New York.
Then you know what I mean?
And the winters were unbelievably cold and wet and miserable, and the summers were hot, sticky, and humid. And I remember thinking, I was in my mid-20s at the time, and this is all I've ever wanted to do. And I knew that there was no way I was going to grow old doing it in New York. And
no, that's good. That was a good time to get out.
I got out. I think I moved here in 91.
Yeah. So then let's bring it back to the beginning. Let's talk about how you even got to this point. Are you from Chicago originally?
Yeah, I'm from the south suburbs and the south side of Chicago. I grew up in a town called Dalton, next to Calumet City, home of the Blues Brothers.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah, so I grew up in the south suburbs my whole life. I moved to Chicago, the city, in 1997. I'm back in the suburbs now for a little bit with my mom. Not permanently. I'll be back in the city, but obviously I'm in Chicago every day when I'm working, so I don't miss it as much. But I spent about 25 years in a neighborhood called Wicker Park and Humboldt Park.
So you'd be more White Sox than Cubs.
Oh, I didn't even know that there was 2 baseball teams until I was 7. And then I found out there was some other team called the Cubs. I was literally in 2nd grade because my father was like a huge White Sox fan. So I watched the White Sox. We're all Chicago Bears fan. I'm not a real sports ball person. But my family is Irish Catholic, so you can imagine that they are.
Yeah.
I was the oddball. I went to art school. I wear all black. I'm covered in tattoos, and they like have jerseys with numbers on them. It's okay. We accept each other.
Yeah. You sound like a prop master.
Right.
Just how it is, you know?
Yeah.
So
I have to be one of the few prop masters that don't have a single tattoo.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, like I do like the Chicago Bears because my son loves football, so I kind of got used to watching it, but I still don't understand the game. And I'm actually okay with that too.
Yeah. So how did you get into the film world? Did you cut? Yeah. Let us know.
It's a crazy story. Okay, so I went to art school, then I went back to college for like a year in liberal arts, and I already had my son by then, and I'm like, what am I doing? Because at that time, I thought I was going to go into like occupational therapy and maybe physical therapy, but I was always an artist. So I started looking into art therapy. Had I had done that, I would have a lot more money and a steady job, but we don't do that, do we? So I went into art, and actually I started in photography. I was at a photo studio for many years, and it was a big commercial photo studio. And I will tell you, that's how I learned everything. Everything I know is from starting out at that photo studio, because I had to look, I had to look through a camera. So
Yeah.
Do you think that gave you a good discipline for props?
it gave me a different perspective because I was used to looking through a camera. A lot of people work set and they don't understand that if you can't look at the monitors and you can't look through camera and you can't talk to DPs, you're probably going to fail. It's a weird thing to me when people are like, "Oh, I don't have that background," or "I don't know what this is." It's like, well, props, you have to kind of know every department. I think it's a very unique part of the business. So I started in photography. Photography is still my passion. I stayed in photography. I worked my way up. I started as a stylist, and then I was a producer. So I was producing the commercial shoots that we've talked about. So from there, I was able to get into the advertising world. And again, it's a lot better money. And there was this really cool thing called insurance.
Yeah.
As an artist, I never had health insurance. So I started working in advertising, and I was really lucky. I became an art producer and an art buyer in the advertising world. And I did that for about 13 years.
Wow.
So by the time you came into props, what made you what experience did you have? How did you know that props even existed or that film crew work even existed?
Well, I ran crews. So I ran them for still photography, but I had to hire stylists. I had to hire hair and makeup artists. I had to do castings. So that part of the business I had a really good grasp on. I didn't have a grasp on how unions and those jobs run because we were doing a lot smaller jobs, right? And we had a lot of core staff. So for me, what happened is the advertising world kind of fell down in Chicago. Probably at that time, it was like recession and people were all saving their money and they were rerunning ads instead of doing new ones. And I started freelance producing, and I was like, I got to find something else that's going to be something where I can get insurance, something where I can maybe have a paycheck once in a while, So it was crazy. I ran into one of my wardrobe stylists at the store, and she was the one that told me about the film union in Chicago. And she's like, Laura, I think I'm gonna try to get union work. I don't know what else to do. Our business is really slow. So that's how I ended up switching from the commercial advertising world into film and television. And I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah.
I talked to the union, and I'm like, well, I'm an artist, so could I try to get art department work? And I didn't know anything. I didn't know what a set designer was. I didn't know what a set decorator did. I didn't know what a prop master did. I didn't know what a production designer did. I am not a computer person. I'm not a big tech person. I get by because I have to. So I knew right away that I did not want to go into production design or art direction. Like I knew that right away. I was never going to sit in front of a computer for 13 hours. God bless them.
What was
and my
it?
graphic designer.
Yeah.
What was it then about props that when you saw it
I got
happening,
thrown into
immediately
it.
attracted to you?
Nope, I got completely thrown into it. I always thought I'd be a set decorator because I was a
Right,
stylist.
right.
You're a stylist, you go into set decorating, right? I totally got thrown into props. My first couple jobs, I got to help the on-set decorator, but it was a movie and it was a horror movie. So like we were doing spider webs and blood, and I'm like,
Oh, cool.
this is so cool. This is so cool. I'm gonna do this. And then I did some greens work, and I'm like, that sucks. That's really hard. I'm like planting shit in the ground. I'm like, this is a no. And then I got hired on and it was a show called Betrayal. And one of the reasons I got on the props team and I got in kind of good with them is because the lead character was a photographer.
Oh.
And they knew I had a background in photography, and they knew I wouldn't let her look stupid. And I'd get her the right equipment and set up lights for her, and all. So that's how I segued, and then got my hours and got in the union, and then started working props, and then got really lucky, got hired to be on Empire, which is still probably one of the biggest budgets, biggest shows on TV. And I
Yeah.
was the buyer the first year, and then I was the assistant prop master for, I can't even remember, 3 seasons, I think. And I don't want to say luck because it's hard work, but when I left Empire, I got hired as a prop master on a show called Work in Progress with Lily Warchowski, that shot here in Chicago. And that snowballed then my career, where I was a prop master, not an assistant prop master anymore, and got into, kits and finding my own crew and all that stuff. So that's kind of a long story, but that's how I fell into it.
Yeah, it's funny on the last episode that we did for this show with Dean Eilerson, it was a similar story to like falling within props specifically, and it's a show where it's something like the subject matter is about your passion or something that you're passionate about or you do for a hobby anyways. And it's crazy how that kind of can close in and be like, okay, this is so amazing. I'm just doing what I do for fun, but I'm teaching somebody on screen how to use it. So I think that's a really cool way to get in. Was shows like if that was cool, like did that translate over to like Empire, or did you have to
Empire was crazy. That was a huge. So you got to remember, Empire had 8 lead actors at all times.
Yeah.
So if you're working props, you have 8 actors, and a lot of them, we had the family dinner scenes every episode. So the thing about Empire that was really cool is I did a lot more work offset, and Blake, who was the other assistant prop master, he did a lot more work on set, and we kind of combined it. And it was really nice because I did the styling and the food, and the guys did the guns.
Yeah.
And then it just so happened that my son happens to be a musician. So I knew that, and both Jeremy and Blake that were on that show with me are amazing. They both knew a ton about music, and David, who ran our shop. So a couple of the guys played guitar. It was really cool, but I had an in with Fender and Gibson, and I kind of like leveled it up. And the prop master of the show, Mike, I got to give him a lot of credit. He kind of let us go for it. He's like, go for it. Like we did, the all white band with a white orchestra, and had to come up with white instruments. And then we had to figure out how to paint some, because not every instrument comes in white. There was challenges like that were huge. That was a huge production. We would have 200 extras in every single club scene.
Oh,
so
right.
It would be 200 drinks, So
Yeah.
I think the best thing from that was, it was a really big crew, was meeting all the people and developing friendships. I just worked with the DP from Empire. I haven't seen him in like 5 years, and I just did that movie. I just did the one day with him, and it was so great. But yeah, Empire was a hard show just because of the sheer amount of everything, the amount of instruments, the amount of leads, the amount of phones, the amount of guns. It also was a great show to work on that many years because you learned how to do pretty much everything.
Did you find the transition from assistant to prop master natural? Did
Yeah.
it seem like it was time for you to take the next step?
Well, also because I used to be a producer, so I used to know how to do budgets faster than anyone I worked with. Like
Yeah.
I budgets and that kind of stuff. So that my producing background really helped me with that type of work because I already knew how to do it from my ad days.
See, I always thought that was the biggest thing, that when people who are assisting want to make it to a prop master, there's so
Yep.
much of what a prop master does
Yep.
that I think a lot of assistants are not privy to, and a lot of the assistants who think, "Oh, I could do that." They're
They
just
can't.
seeing what we do in front of the
Yeah.
camera. They're not seeing
Yep.
the weekends, all the phone calls we get, the
Yep.
schedules we have to
Yeah.
do, the breakdowns,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
budgets. And so much of what we do are being done for people who all they want to hear are our budgets.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
even just the show I was just on, they were just like, well, we just our coordinator, we needed to replace our coordinator, and they're like, oh, do you know anybody? I was like, I know I know people, but the pool's a lot smaller. And they're like, well, why? It was like, yeah, but well, you're not talking about somebody who could just show up on set and help hand
Right.
out props. You're talking about somebody who knows POs, who
Yep.
knows how to turn in receipts.
Well, there's a learning curve.
There's a
There's
learning
a
curve.
big learning curve that when you're on set and they tell you, we need you to hand out weapons, we need you to hand out drinks, you come
Yep.
into that knowing that already.
Right.
But even doing budgets, I've found that, and I've been doing this, many years now, different shows bring out different challenges. There's a big difference between doing a show like Empire and doing a show like The Bear, where
yeah.
Yep.
they're both very high profile shows, but your money is being spent in totally different directions.
Yeah, it's being spent on a lot of food.
I'm sure. I do want to ask before we get too deep into the Bear. What does a working in Chicago? Do you guys do you work off of 48-foot trailers as far as your kit goes and stuff like that? I know.
Depends. A lot of prop masters here have own their own trucks. I do not, and I will say this publicly. One of the reasons I didn't buy my own truck is I only got about 7 more years in this business at tops. So for me, a $60,000 to $100,000 investment was not something I wanted to do. My kit is now huge,
Yeah.
you guys. It's insane. It's ridiculous. It's insane.
How
But
many ladles
also
do you own?
450. It's so big that it's actually, I think I have 16 pallets right now in storage. I work with also, shout out to Jeff Klein, our lead man, who did all of that with his swing gang, because I had 2 truckloads that
So
had
do
to
you
go
work
in
out of a
storage.
truck or out of a 48-foot trailer?
I work out of, well, it depends on what they rent me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's everything. So everything we do in Chicago, we all work on trucks. We don't, there's nothing stationary. I think so here's the thing, you guys, I got really spoiled. I got a camera truck the last 2 times.
Oh.
So had carpet and beautiful wooden desk, and
Yeah.
it was gorgeous because the guy that is building it out, it's not all the way done, and he knows me, and he's like, I'll rent it to you guys. I know you're going to take care of it. Like we returned it cleaner than we got it.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been able to use. But what I did to make the whole process, like if I'm on a smaller film and they just get me like a box truck, like something really small, like that commercial or something, what I did is I invested in all the shelving and everything. So you can put my shelves and my kit in any kind of truck very quickly.
Right.
So a couple of our prop masters here that bought new trucks, they outfitted them all custom. So that's the way I do it. I rent my trucks. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. And I will continue to rent. I will try to rent from other prop masters if I can to give them the money. I am talking to 2 other people about maybe splitting a truck. So like whoever was working at the time would use it and we'd combine some of our kits. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that if you do it that way, that's the gift that will keep on giving after retirement also probably.
Well, I told them the whole deal is if I do it, they got to buy me out when I leave.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You have that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been really, really lucky, but I've done some really small indie movies and things like that I love to death. That is my passion is smaller projects. Even though I'm on big shows, that's not my passion.
Yeah.
And I've had to work out of box trucks. And I know it sounds like a nightmare. And for me, I've done this long enough now where I know exactly what I need and what I don't need, and I can scale it down. The other problem I have, let's bring this up. Chairs.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah.
this up.
It's been brought up a couple times.
Yeah, usually by me.
As prop masters, how many chairs you guys got that you own that are yours?
I probably own, if we're talking tall boys and
No,
short ones
no.
and wooden chairs.
I've banned wooden chairs.
Yeah, I have all my wooden chairs now just sitting in our prop lockup from our last show.
I got rid of half of my wooden. I still have a dozen.
Okay.
I have a dozen that stay in my jockey boxes, and I haven't pulled them out.
Yeah, I don't travel with them.
I used to ask in the beginning of a show what type of director's chairs. I don't ask that anymore.
No.
I just show up and start putting them out.
I'm all aluminum now.
Yeah.
Oh,
So aluminum, I have 30,
Yeah.
and then I have about 10 tall aluminum.
Okay, you make me feel better because I'm up to 24 now. And so what I did is, I don't know how you guys did it, but you know how they have the double carts where you can put 12 on top and 12 on the bottom?
Yes. Yeah.
They're usually custom made. So I also banned that because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I am not a huge individual. And trying to, even when I have 5 or 6 crew, it doesn't matter. Trying to push that would be a great YouTube video because it's a joke. I just go backwards, So what I did is I have 2 separate chair carts with 12 each, but I really like that because sometimes we don't have to pull them both off the truck.
That's what I do. I do the exact same thing.
Same exact thing here too. Yeah.
I can't take that big. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's also crazy in Chicago. The weather in LA is far more stable. But with
Right.
you're constantly having to put chairs out when it's snowing, when it's raining.
Yep.
And we had that this past winter, which was a rarity where we were packing chairs at night and they were soaking wet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is the killer thing about the aluminum chairs because you cannot take the seats off.
Oh, right.
You can't bring them home and dry them.
Yeah.
I do love those though. I love the lightweight. I like how they're used. I like the little trays. All of my actors, everybody uses those all the time. They're easy to clean. I'm very happy with them.
Yeah, and you can grab 6 of them at once if you need to.
Yep.
It's a big thing. Nothing's bumping you in the head.
Right.
So, yeah. So, the kits. I mean, that doesn't sound great. I'm assuming your whole kit's on wheels then, if you need to keep outfitting trucks and stuff like that.
I have a certain amount of carts. You know what's funny is I did go into the custom carts and had the very expensive. I'm sure you guys might have them. Cart custom made, and we used it. But I'll tell you what, we use Rubbermaids all the time. And that is one of our go-to things. And I will ask my crew, do you want another set cart? Do you want this? Do you want that? Those are, my set cart, everything like that's on wheels. But Rubbermaids have saved our lives. And again, It is because of the way we work in Chicago. You better be able to get over that curb.
Yeah. I mean, I have the full set carts too, but then there's 2 Rubbermaids that I'm never going to leave my kit because you need the rubber.
I have 4. We have culinary carts too now. We have a parking lot of carts.
Yeah.
See, the carts are always specialty. Like, I prefer using the Rubbermaids as well. But
Me too. I love them.
For the last 5 years, I've been working on the Old Man, which has a lot of weapons. And with weapons, we need carts. The Jeff Bridges.
I love that show. I didn't know that's what you were doing. I just wrote down it debuts September 14th.
September 12th, the next season 2.
September 12th.
Which we started working on 3 years ago.
It's literally in my calendar. I publicly known, huge fan of that show. Huge fan.
Awesome. We got fans of. We're all fans of each other.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which would have been my segue to the bear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect. Let's talk about the bear. I mean, especially like we were talking about filling up. I mean, your food styling and your food prep just department. How do you read a script like that and prepare? I don't even know how to start here.
It's very different on this show.
Yeah.
This is a one-off. So when we started, the pilot was me and 2 people, and I was literally running and buying like sides of beef.
So it was 3 people in the entire department.
Well,
for
actually, it was 2, and I had to borrow an on-set.
and you were still willing to go back when the series hit.
Because the pilot was small. We were in
Right.
2 different places, and I love Chris Storer, Joanna Kello, everybody, Maddie, Jeremy, everybody on that show is so kind. Our pilot was like a little family adventure. And the one thing, I think one of the things is sometimes you have to know your strengths. And the one thing I'm really good at because of the background I have, again, is I will make anything work. I make the craziest stuff look okay, and I will figure it out. And that is actually, that's my favorite way to work. That's why I like smaller budget and indies where you're just like, I have $50. I got to figure this out. So when we did the pilot, it was a very different feel and a very different way that we worked. So we got it done. And I am going to tell you that I knew when I was behind the monitor and I was watching it, I knew that show was magic. And I told those guys it was magic. And we went through, the pilot got picked up. We were all excited. Yay, yay. And Maddie at that time was helping me do everything. Obviously, he's a chef, right? So we called 2 of his friends, 2 chefs in Chicago. They helped out a little bit. And then we got further into this season. And then Coco Storer, who is Chris's sister, she's also our culinary producer. She is a chef for a living. Coco flew in from LA and saved everybody's life and was our culinary producer. So now, by the time, let's fast forward to working all that out, and there was a lot of back and forth and trials and tribulations and figuring it all out. The show was getting bigger and bigger. So for season 3, the beautiful thing is we have a prop department, we have a set deck department, and we have a culinary department. So I am not at the grocery store, nor is my buyer buying 6,000 tomatoes.
When
they have a buyer that buys the food. Now we do it, and Set Deck does it too, because we all work as part of a team.
Right.
The biggest difference on this show is we have chefs on set. We have Coco, we have CJ, we have Brian, we have Justin. We love them all. Michelin star quality. And then Nicole is our 476 props person that works culinary, but she also has a ton of restaurant experience. So we hired some union people that have actually worked in restaurants before, because we couldn't just have prop people doing all this. Though I will tell you, Jeff and Poppy, my crew, they've done it all now. They had to. They've all had to do it.
The one thing
we have Steve and Jay, and they've also picked it all up. You don't have a choice on that show.
Yeah.
I had mentioned to Mike before we had called you, that when I watch TV and movies, I always try to divorce myself from being a prop master. I try to watch it as an audience member and just enjoy the show, not thinking there's a crew standing behind the camera. I could not do that the first time I saw the bear. The first time I saw the bear, my first thought was, oh my God, I'm so glad that that's not me.
It was, it
was so impressive.
Yeah, it was rough, but again, I had really nice support and help. And when the show got bigger and everything got more intense, the food that we did for season 3, there's no one that could do that except Michelin star chefs.
Yeah.
There is not. That's what you needed, and that's what we got. And it was so nice because it actually, culinary props work together every single day. So it just makes it all easier because there's more people. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But, you guys, we were scrubbing dishes by hand at the beginning.
How did it transition from season 2 to season 3 as far as going with the culinary department? Did that come through the producers, or was that a conversation you had saying, we've grown, it's now time to grow accordingly?
That would not be my job to say, hire 5 people at this much cost.
Yeah.
Everybody just knew it, and it was a normal segue because Coco and I work together every single day, so we're really used to each other. She's like a sister to me. We love each other dearly, but we both knew, and it was really, really hard. Season 3, even though it's more complicated, wasn't, for me personally, for props, it was better and smoother because our chefs were doing what they needed to do so we could do our other job. I mean, people that don't know props wouldn't realize like the phones and the computers and everything.
Right.
It's a very heavy use on that show.
Yeah.
So then we could do, I don't know, my list, I must have had, I don't even want to tell you, video graphics literally was a full-time job for me on that show.
It's a nightmare for me.
Well,
I hate that
it
stuff.
was crazy.
Yeah.
That's the big difference where our business is going, especially in props. When you look at how many more layers we have now. So you take a show like The Bear, and you immediately think, well, all the prop master is concentrating on is food, because clearly that's the pinnacle of the show. But then you realize it still has the watches and rings, the briefcases, all of the daily scripted props, all of the graphics. So much stuff that even if the food was taken out, it's a big production just to do everything other than the food.
Yeah, then you add the cell phone stuff in, and that's
Right.
just a whole nother deal. So you did all the cell phone stuff, like that's all practical pretty much?
So remember when I said I'm not a tech person?
You're going to give her a twitch.
The problem is, like everything else, and you guys know this as prop masters, I can figure it out. I'll do it. The great thing is, for season 3, I did an SOS white flag to our executive producer, and I'm like, I've got to have more people. I can't do this with 3 people. My crew is 3 people, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't. I physically cannot do it. So it worked out really well because now I have 5 people on my team, and it changed my life. Also, we have a great company. They're called Twisted Media. They work here in Chicago, and they are a godsend. So they do all the heavy, like laptop screens, like the job searching that Tina was doing, or if it's anything really heavy. Other than that, everything else we do is practical. Every phone call, all that stuff, it's practical. Text messages, we go back and forth. Some Clark does, but a lot of them we end up doing. And I will say, shout out again to my props team, because David Woods is our post-production supervisor. He is a producer on the show, and he actually called me and said, you guys did such a good job. It made my job easier. And I've never had a post supervisor call me. They're like, you guys rocked it. And if you watch the show in kind of a different light, you'll see that stuff's in basically every scene.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, any facet of anybody hitting you up from a different department that you don't usually work directly with saying, you guys made my job easier. It's like, great.
And I want to shout out to our graphic designer and our production designer and our set decorator, because they all help. Our graphic designer, Mary, God bless her that she didn't quit, because we literally would be on set calling her going, I need 25 more tickets. Holy shit, they just blasted through all these. They're using them as notes. It's a notebook. Oh my God, oh my God. So that was crazy. Like, the pace of the show is the pace that we work.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Scott about before we actually roll, because I tried a while ago to watch the show, and I think it was while I was prepping a show myself, or it was one of those nights where you're like doing your computer work and I put it on, and I couldn't make it halfway through, and I think it was because of the environment I was in. I was like, I'm trying to do prep work and stuff, and the show is giving me anxiety right now.
Well, that's what it did to me.
Yeah.
All I could think about was what it would take to do it.
Yeah, and that's what I kept thinking. It was like, and I just watched it again, and that's when I came to that realization. I was like, the pacing of it is so fast that thinking about props wise, it's like they're here, they cut it almost like a music video. Like it's such quick cuts, such moving on, and that's to like the madness of the kitchen. But like you see props wise, every time you switch here, he's pulling this out of the fridge. You switch there, this other reset's happening. I was like, oh my God, this whole scene is just a whole production of resets that have to go back in.
How many days in an episode?
4.5.
What? How many?
Did you say 4.5?
You shoot an entire episode in 4.5 days.
Yes.
Damn.
Even in season 3?
4.5.
Holy
4.5.
crap.
4.5.
Oh my God. I was doing ABC family shows that we were shooting in like 7 and 8 days.
Yeah.
Well, and Empire was 8 days.
Right.
So when I went to the Bear, and I did work in progress, but we didn't shoot. Lily shoots really fast too, so that helped me. But it was still, it's always a week for an episode, right? And no, it's 4.5 on the Bear.
Wow, I would have lost that bet. When in a post-Rust world, people are always asking me now about weapons, and the one thing I always bring up is, as a prop master, it's not just weapons that we have a big responsibility with, but food as well. And one of the things I was thinking, everybody has so many allergies and dietary requirements that you have to be so careful about the food you put in front of somebody. How do you contend with that?
For this show, it's a little different because, first of all, the show's about food. So as far as all our lead actors, we know all their allergies. As the prop master, yes, I was the one that did that and started the initiative, and it was interesting because one of the leads had some allergies that we didn't know about. But we are surrounded with chefs, and we are surrounded with people that have also trained with chefs, so everyone's really aware. If we're doing multiple takes, nobody eats the food. They know that it's been sitting there for 2 hours. As far as our restaurant scenes go, we talk to everybody there. We figure it all out. But yeah, absolutely. All of my props team has gone to food sanitation classes. They're all at...
That's smart.
Well, and we all did the food manager one, which takes a lot longer, but it's a really good license. So that's a requirement. If you're on my team, you have to take that. You should take it. If anyone that's in props should take the food sanitation anyway. I don't know why that's not a requirement, because we do... like I said, the Bear is unusual because we have this beautiful culinary department and we have these wonderful chefs. But for example, go back to Empire, we did all the food on Empire.
Right.
Our friend Chef Tara, I brought her in for season 5. And she used to, work behind the scenes with us. She was great, but we knew all the requirements and all the sanitation and everything that, we know how to sub out things also if somebody's supposed to, be drinking whiskey, and obviously it's not whiskey, but if they don't like a certain brand of tea, or if we have a lot of people now that want unsweetened everything. So just small things like that. But I think that anyone that works in props should have that certification.
Yeah, in California, there's a food handler's license.
Yeah.
Which I got. And when we do food scenes, I'll tell the actors that I just want you to know that we have people in my department that have a food handler's license so that they feel comfortable with it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Just another level of comfort. So I do have to ask then, since you're on the show where you have Michelin star food pretty much and chefs making these, being in props, are you guys eating well? Do you get a little bit of that?
So
what's the takeout situation?
Let me tell you. First of all, we have regular catering like every other show.
Of course.
Regular craft service like every other show. People do get to taste stuff and try stuff. Ironically, and I can say this in public now, I'm a vegan, so none of it goes to me.
Yeah, I'm a vegetarian too, and it's so funny.
We actually have a lot of vegetarians. We only have 2 vegans. We have a lot of vegetarians. Coco makes me vegan focaccia sometimes, and I eat the whole loaf.
Do you have you had to prepare meat dishes for vegans? Have you had to get into the faking at all?
Nope. This is the Bear.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The answer is no. There is no fake meat on our show. No.
Yeah, I've had to deal with that.
I don't think anyone would ever request that either.
Have you had vegans or vegetarians have to eat meat and just buck it up and be a pro? Good.
Nope.
Yeah, I guess it's a requirement when you're signing up for the show. I feel like as one of the, at least the lead actors, if you're reading that script, there's no freaking way.
None of them are vegans or vegetarians anyway.
Yeah, no, it's so funny in a prop world, like how we live, because I remember one of my best friends now is a sound guy who I met, like we've worked 5 different projects, just weirdly fell into that together, but he's a vegan and I'm a vegetarian. And the first time, he always tells me the story about the first time we met, because our carts and stuff for the scene was set up together, and then it was scripted that the character was eating bacon. Like, and so I had to do a bunch of, so I'm sitting there as a vegetarian just cooking up bacon after bacon. He's like, I hated you because you're cooking bacon right next to it. I was like, I'm a vegetarian. And he goes, how do you do this? I was like, you do what the script's asking for.
I've asked actors when I've had to place meat in front of them, actors who I know were vegetarians or vegans, and we knew they weren't going to eat the food. They would eat their salad or something. And I said, is it going to bother you having a steak in front of you? And their answer has always been, no, it's not something I'm going to eat, but you do a lot of things as an actor that doesn't really portray the person you are in real life.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, are you still, what is it? What's the future look like for you? Or is there more The Bear happening, or what are you working on anything at the moment?
I'm unemployed right now. It's not fun. Chicago is really, really slow. I know by the time this airs, hopefully things will be very different. I don't know. We do still have the tax incentive here. Working really hard on that. So I'm hoping things pick up. But yeah, we're real slow right now.
And what's the? I know this is a hard question to ask because I know we've had the strikes and all that stuff. But what's usually the turnover between seasons on The Bear? Do they usually go down for like 6 months before coming back for another season? Yeah.
Yes.
Are you coming back for season 4?
Yes.
Excellent.
and I can't say anything else about that.
Yeah, I figured.
Well, everybody knows that there's season 3, 4. That's been out in the press. So
yeah.
How long is your season? At 4 days an episode.
4.5 days an episode. How long do I work?
Yeah.
Well, I get a lot. Sorry, other prop masters. I get probably more prep than a lot of people do. I mean, like for your show, for example, how much prep do you get week-wise before you go into filming?
For Old Man. Let's say for Old Man.
Yeah, for Old Man.
I think I had 6 to 8 weeks of prep at the beginning of the season. And we've been shooting, I think we have like, I want to say 12 or 14 day episodes. We've had long episodes. And I'll be prepping episode 2 as we're shooting 1. But we've also been doing a lot of crossboarding. So we very rarely just shoot our show is more spread out than The Bear.
Yeah, we do that too. Yeah, 5. We might shoot in one location. We might shoot, 4 different episodes that are all happening at that location. So it's a really compacted life in The Bear. I mean, I did get some extra prep time because I really needed it. But I'm going to tell you guys something that's going to blow your mind. We don't, how like for Empire, we had 8 days, right? Oh. So they're, let's just say episode 1. It's not, but let's use episode 1, for example. They're filming episode 1. They have 8 days. So the prop master and a couple other people, the buyer, maybe a PA, are behind the scenes, and they're working those 8 days on episode 2, correct? That's how most people do it, right?
Right.
Well, I want you to think of The Bear as a feature film, but we don't do that. When I prep, for example, for season 3, I had to prep 7 episodes.
Right. I did the same thing.
I'm not sitting in an office while they're filming, prepping for the next episode, especially the way we shoot. So let's say I'm at a restaurant, not The Bear. I'm at another restaurant. We're going to film there for maybe 6 or 7 days, but maybe we're going to film 4 different episodes that take place at that location. Right. I have to be ready for all of them. So prepping is insane because I literally have to read at least 5 to 7 scripts and have every single thing ready. And we did a lot more location this time. So we have to have our truck packed and unpacked multiple times. And that was very, very hard for my prop crew because we'd be out on the road for maybe 8 days doing 4 different episodes. We'd come back for 2 days, have to unload everything from those 8 days, go back on the set, film there for 4 days, and then get the truck ready in a day to go back out. That was the thing that was one of the hardest things for myself as a prop master and for the crew. But so The fun thing about this show is I am not a prop master that is sitting in an office. I'm actually on set.
That's what I was going to ask.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's interesting with The Bear or The Old Man or just a lot of shows that I know I've done is and I know we talked about this several weeks ago, the line between television and feature film is really blurred, where years ago you would do a TV show, you would do the episode began and ended, and then you would prep the next one. Now, when we get Old Man, we'll get all the scripts, and it's like prepping an 800-page movie. And the stuff that I'm prepping from week to week tends to be food scenes, perishables, certain manufacturing. But at the beginning, it's almost daunting when you have...
So then you are doing exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, but I still seemed... Every episode, I was always in a prep mode. Even though I might have had 80% of the show prepped, I still found that the whole time they were filming, I was always busy prepping. And I always made time. Whenever there was weapons being used on set, I would always be on set 100% of the time.
Yeah. So I have if you're on location, especially on a show like this, a lot, like where's the food being prepared? Do they like actually actively use the kitchens?
Depends on where. Yeah, I mean, if we're at a restaurant, we're using their kitchen.
Okay.
What about when there's...
And if we're on set, we have our own. And sometimes they have to prep things halfway at our culinary kitchen and then bring it to location and finish prepping it. Obviously, everyone on the show is very familiar with this, so they're very careful with what they have to do that way. But yeah, it just depends.
Have you ever thought of doing a tag-along kitchen trailer?
We don't need it.
You don't?
Yeah, we can rent trailers, we can rent food trucks.
Right.
Yeah.
We've thought about all that. And it doesn't, I got to be honest with you, trying to actually cook what we cook on a food truck or a trailer is never going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's way too high level. No way. Cooking the beef sandwiches, yeah, you could get away with that.
Totally.
But we also know how to do that in pans to bring it with. So we did, we went back and forth about a food truck we looked at them and Coco looked at them, and it's just not really it doesn't really apply to this show. They're really small and they couldn't do what we needed them to do.
Right.
I think if you have a show that has a lot of food and it's a lower level, I think I don't even like those, like a kitchen trailer or a crafty trailer. I've seen those. I think food truck would be the way to go, my personal opinion, if you get a really good one, because it is made to work when you're on location. It's made to work on the road.
Right.
And I think so. Yeah, we did look at those, and we just went on a different direction with that.
Yeah. I know we're getting towards the end here, so before we wrap up, I just I want to ask you the question. I know you mentioned earlier that you probably only got 7-ish years left doing this. Is there a type of show that's high up on your list that you hope to work on before you're finished?
Yeah, I want to work on a horror movie. I never got to work on a horror movie.
Oh, really?
I want to do that really, really, really bad. Yeah, that's the and two people I know that are in that part of the field, they know I want to do it. I don't know if I'd be any good at it because those prop masters are like crazy good and they know exactly what they're doing. Like, but yeah, that I got to work on what was it? Oh God, Sinister 2.
Yeah.
That was a couple days I got to do, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, horror's where I live usually. And
really?
Yeah, I do a lot of horror stuff. Yeah,
I love that stuff.
It's so much fun.
But it's all working at night.
Yeah, that's the only con.
Yeah, I'd have to learn. I'd have to learn a lot to do that, but I want to work on like a murder mystery or horror. Like all my shows that I've worked on, I love them all. They're all about real people in real life. So I would like to, and I sorry to the superhero world, I'm not really a sci-fi person. So I still want to do something that's like not normal.
Yeah. No, yeah. Horror is a lot of fun in its own right. You're always making something, and the stabby props are really cool to create to see because things are always like changing and modifying. So like building your own like stunt kits is some of the most fun things I think we get to do as prop masters.
I also
sometimes.
think one of the fun things about horror films is they tend to be smaller budgets with smaller budgets with greater wants. And I think as a prop person, you get to expand and really get to play with your toys.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to find that stuff on the shelf at Target or on the shelf at ISS.
Oh, yeah. You get creative with that, and your mental bag of tricks just expands.
Right. You become a magician on horror movies.
And you know, the funny thing is, I'll say this publicly too. I can get by. I am not like a mechanical person. I'm not fixing my own car or, you know, whatever. I did redo a bathroom almost by myself, and I was very proud because that was hard. I will never do that again. But it's funny to me because I think people they have like so many stereotypes about prop masters. First of all, sorry you guys, but they always think they're men. And I will tell you that in Chicago, it's almost all men. And they also think they're like mechanical guys. And I'm the opposite of that. I am the art prop master, like painting, drawing, making stuff out of nothing. That's more like what I do good and kind of figuring stuff out of nothing. But like building, let's say I had to build a space ray gun, I'd be like, yeah, no.
But you could design it and bring up the concept, and then you hire someone else to build it.
I'm really good at hiring great people, and I think that's one of the things that prop masters don't do is you are only as good as your crew. I am blessed to have some of the best prop people in Chicago. I've gone through changes like everybody else. I also do things, I think, differently. I know a lot of prop masters, you know, have the same crew and they work with the same people. And if their crew works somewhere else, they're freaking out or this or that. I don't believe in any of that. I think that people should be trained to step up. And if you're just a props person, you want to be an assistant prop master, I'm going to train you how to do that. You want to be a prop master, I will train you. Mentoring is my favorite thing. I don't like the closed hierarchy of the business. It's one of the things I'm trying to change as much as I can. I want to mentor and I want people to learn, and I don't hoard things or vendors or ideas or anything. I think that's kind of an old school way of thinking. I don't know if you guys run across that, but I don't like any of that. That is not my philosophy. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's and from doing the podcast and talking to so many other prop masters even here, that was the way it was, and just I think across the country for the longest time. And I think that's what one big thing with the PMG that we're doing to close down those barriers. Like so many prop masters now, they know each other by name, and that's what I'm saying. Like I know most of the people in LA now just from doing this and going to meetups and talking to people and asking questions, just like, I'm stressed out, I can't figure this thing out. But you run into somebody in the halls at ISS.
I feel like I have so much more of a power of community behind me than I've ever had before.
Yeah, nobody's jumping like on the Facebook. I remember it was so scary posting a question if you're like unsure, because someone's be like, "Oh, you shouldn't be a prop master if you're." But that's changed a lot. I don't see that as much anymore.
So.
Oh,
I tell people all the time I don't know how to do something.
Yeah,
like people have told me before too. I think the way I run my crew and the way I am, they're like, "You're so honest," and I'm like, "You guys, why is that something you're noticing? You shouldn't notice that. Everybody should just be honest. If I don't know how to do something, I literally will look at a director and be like, I don't know how to do that. Hold on a second. I don't care. What are you going to, okay, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to fire me? Have a nice day then.
Well, also, the thing is they're looking to you to get it done. At the end of the day, when the episode gets done, you'll get the thank yous for getting it done. The same way no one is expecting the director to know how to prop or how to make the food or how to set up a C-stand.
Yeah.
The director gets the credit for bringing in a motion picture or a television show complete. And I look the same way. I'm more than happy to point out members of my crew, and a producer comes by and say, "Wow, Scott, that was amazing." And I point to my assistant Mark, and I said, "That's why I bring Mark."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it's crazy. Go ahead.
I do that all the time. Like my buyer Tatum, there's so many things she came up with, and they'd be like, "Rope, that's awesome." And I'm like, Tatum, what I love about the bear, I will tell you guys honestly, I swear to you, what you see is real. We are true family, and my director and our showrunner Chris Storer knows every single person's name. He knows every single person on my team, and he knows if he can't find me, he can go right up to Jeff or Poppy and say, "Hey, you guys, Jeff, I need help with this. Poppy, can you do this?" I don't do any of that weird caste system stuff. I don't believe in it. It really bothered me when I first got into this industry. I almost did not stay in it because I did not like the way people were treated.
So in your department, you don't require your staff just to say yes, prop master, no prop master.
No, and no, I just like, but I've seen that. I have seen that, you guys, and I think people think it still doesn't happen, and it does. And like, I am also a huge advocate for my PAs. You talk to a PA nasty in front of me, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, I'm the same
And
way.
if I get kicked off a set because you mistreated a young person who's 19 or 20 years old, then there's going to be a bigger issue. I cannot tolerate that. I just hate it. And I do still see it in this industry. And I don't, like you were talking about people helping each other. I think that's getting a lot better. Chris Shader, I don't know if you guys know Chris. He is the prop master for Chicago Med here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, I've called him panicking when I've had to do a medical scene, and I'm like, I need all your equipment and all your stuff, and can I just come over and shop at your prop shop? And he'll just laugh at me. He's like, "Rope, whatever you need." Like,
We have the same thing here. I mean, I'm sure you've seen those panic posts in Facebook.
Yeah.
Where someone's like, "It's Friday night. I just got a call. I need a stuffed owl." And they need it first thing Monday morning. And if I have one in my truck, I say, "Look, I'm at ISS. Meet me at ISS tomorrow morning at 9:00. If it's in my trailer, it's yours."
That's what's been the best part.
More of that, please.
Yeah.
More of that.
And it makes me feel good about myself to be able
Yeah.
to do that to someone else.
I did it today actually for someone, which is great. But with that being said, I just want to also mention a lot of this community and stuff comes with getting to know each other by name and making acquaintances with people, because I mean, people, I don't know, like yourself, Scott, or like Andy Skill or Guillaume Deluge, like some of these people I would have been way intimidated to ask any question to before. It just so happens to just sit down and make the acquaintance first, and now it becomes a more comfortable thing. It's like I can talk to that person. So for everybody in Chicago that's listening to this, that's in the prop world and want to do that, I just want to let you guys know we are in the process. I'm working with Colin Bach and Vicky Chan and actually Laura. We're working on getting a quarterly bar meetup going out there.
Yeah, you know what? I'm really bummed. The one thing about the PMG, and I did talk to them about that, and I did rejoin, but I'm like, you guys, there's nothing in Chicago for us. Like, what do you want to do? But I do think with Vicky being here, that might help us a little bit too. Cinespace is really great. I mean, if we need any room or anything, like, I know they'll let us do that. I know Vicky will let us do it. It's there. She's in a really cool space out here. So I hope that we can do that. I really do.
Yeah.
I think be great.
Yeah, and I'm doing a lot of the helping to do it, so we're gonna make it happen. There's gonna start to be, and you'll see once we get the first one off the ground, it's just plug and play from there. So we're gonna start every few months. We're gonna have whether it be at a bar or something like that. So we'll put it on our socials and everything like that, so everybody out there can see.
We work it where there's a host family. So if we're doing it in LA and you need a place to stay, come and stay with us.
Yeah, that's true too. And not just for Chicago, it goes for anywhere else. If you're in a region where like I said, we're working on Chicago now, but we need people on the ground. We need feet on the ground. It's hard for us to plan a lot of this stuff from LA.
What about Atlanta and Albuquerque? How have you guys talked to them?
Yep, I'm talking to Atlanta right as we speak, actually.
Okay.
Albuquerque, they're planning some of their own stuff right now, so hopefully that's going to come around. We'll hear more from Albuquerque and that area soon. But Atlanta, things are happening and stuff like that too. But if you're also in Atlanta, I only have one person we're talking to trying to get this going in Atlanta. So if you want to get a bar meetup, a PMG on tap, they're very successful everywhere we do them in the country and in Canada. Lots of people always show up. It's literally just an excuse to sit down down, meet other prop masters, talk shop, and have a drink and some food while you do it.
I just went to my first one, was it 2 Sundays ago?
Yeah, yep.
And I can't believe I actually met people that I had never seen before.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
And it's great because I'm a fan of your work. Like I said, the first time I saw the bear, I was instantly impressed by what you pulled off. And to be able to sit here now and talk to you, because I love doing this, I get to geek out and knowing what you do and going to one of the our functions. It's great to meet these people who I have so much respect for, and I'm just in awe of their work.
And same will go for you. Like, I think once we do Chicago, I guarantee you can come sit down, meet Laura, and then after you make acquaintance and you're like, oh, it's a human being, then you'll feel comfortable hitting up Laura and asking for a question. I'm doing a food scene. What do you suggest I do? And then there you go.
It makes you feel a part of something.
Yeah.
I love feeling a part of something.
That too.
Yeah.
But you know what? The other thing is I love to give referrals and I love to give people work. And, you know, one of the coolest things about the bear is that we got to meet an entire community. Obviously, all the restaurant owners and chefs in front of the house and back of the house. So that was like a super cool thing for me. I would never know these people. I know more chefs in Chicago than my head can even remember sometimes. But like, working with our friends at Ever and, you know, our friends at Kasama, like I talk to those guys all the time. Like it's not about work anymore. It's just like other things.
I know. Yeah.
So that's one of the coolest things is you have like your worlds can expand, you know, and Chicago is still, you know, it's a really big city and it can be compacted, you know, in some ways, it's kind of like a cross between New York and other places. We are spread out. We have our neighborhoods, and I've gone and done scenes in places where I've never been before. And I'm like, what's this neighborhood? Oh, this is fun. Like, I think that's all the stuff about our business that's like.
Well, you don't report to one office every day.
Yeah.
The whole city and all the neighboring communities are our office. And I've been to more neighborhoods in LA than other than prop people, other film people. No one could match the amount of places that.
Yeah. But so if you want a PMG meetup in your area that we don't already have it going on and you're willing to help, send us an email. I'll help you out in every way and I'll give you every detail you need to be able to pull it off. And then, like I said, it just becomes sometimes it's just about calling your local bar with a patio and setting it up. So
and I have a guest room if you want to come to one of ours.
Yes. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us, Laura. I really appreciate it. I know we've been trying to get you for a little while.
I feel like we talked about props a lot, but we didn't talk about the bear a lot. I hope that's okay.
Oh, we talked plenty of it. I think we got everything else. So, but yeah, I appreciate you doing this, and I think a lot of the listeners are really going to enjoy this episode.
Really fascinating. Loved it.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, for sitting in on this one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Love doing it.
All right, to close us out then, I just want to also thank everybody else out there for tuning in. If it's your first time listening to Prop Top, the official podcast of the Property Masters Guild, brought to you by real working and retired prop masters as well as associates now. If this is your first time listening, like, subscribe, comment, do all this stuff. If you want to know more information on the Property Masters Guild or have any question for us here at Prop Talk, or if you want a PMG on tap in your region, just send us a message. You can go on to propertymastersguild.org and hit contact, and we'll get the info, and I'll personally help you out. We're also on Instagram @_the PMG. All of the socials, just look up Property Masters Guild. Until next time.